DJ, you go crazy.
DJ UTV, let them know who we got in the building. Chapo. Jones, what you on, gang?
Shit, I ain't on too much, man. I can't complain. Nobody want to hear it anyway.
Where we at, man?
Shit, right now, y'all a long way from home. And y'all in the BX. I ain't gonna lie, the BX is like the shop. A lot.
Right.
Harlem and the BX is a little bit different, but the BX is very aggressive like the shop. You heard?
Mm-hmm.
Them gunshots go off like phone calls. You can't miss them all around this motherfucker.
Yeah. On that note right there that you just said, right? Tell us how crazy, in your perspective, the New York drill scene is right now.
Oh, the drill is one of the reasons that New York music has been able to make a comeback, a resurface.
Okay.
These youngsters adapted this sound, which started in the Shy, which started in the UK.
Hold on. He said we started in the UK. Hold on.
You can say how you want to say it. They've been doing drill for a long time. Shy been doing drill for a long time. The first time I heard about a drill music was from the Shy with Chief Keef and them. But at the same time, them guys in Europe was already saying they was making drill music. But that's after I figured out the whole thing. This is years. Chief Keef been doing this shit for a long time. He has helped so many artists from Chicago make so much fucking money from the music that he has started from putting in the game from my perspective. I don't know what people might have seen, but I'm just telling you how I watched it. And naturally, Chief Keef was a magnet for all the young generations around the country and through the internet around the world. So that sound was so infectious that these young rebellious kids adapted it in New York years ago, though. So I would say 8-9 years ago, these kids started doing the drill music. Wasn't popping, wasn't a thing. It was just the younger generation were already tapping into that vein from following the whole Chief Keef thing. Now, fast forward, that music has become so infectious in New York, it took a whole new sound and took New York into a whole new music lane. And that has helped bring back the energy of our New York sound in whole. Okay. So now the drill sound has become a part of New York sound that people so much know New York for, which is pretty dope. So I always want to make sure I give the younger generation their props for reviving New York in so many words. Yeah. You know what I mean? It ain't no way around it. Yeah. Like, we was out the loop. And these youngsters really stuck it to us, and I tip my hat to them. You know what I mean? Everybody don't agree with it. Everybody don't agree with the sound, but you can't miss it. There ain't no way around it. You heard?
No, I really like that answer. You know what I'm saying? I really like that response, right?
New York has always been a thing where they start to generate new sounds. That's why we were so prominent in our era when Diplomats came out with a sound that nobody understood, but it was so infectious that it kind of helped lead New York and bring New York into a new musical sound, that way we had the samples with the high riffs and all that type of shit, and with the hard knocking beats. It was just something new that people wasn't into. That's just what music is. There's no way around it. Music evolves.
For sure.
Yeah. Every few years it turns into something different. It doesn't take away from what it has been. That's just part of the book. There's new chapters that keeps creating itself through the music and through dance and all of that type of shit.
Now, even though you would say New York has revived, drill music has revived New York's, music relevance. A lot of New York drill artists been getting locked up. You know what I'm saying? It seems like NYPD really been targeting the New York drill artists.
NYPD been targeting all artists for the longest since I've been in the game. Like, they got a special division called Rap Police and
Hip Hop Police?
Yeah, the Hip Hop Police, whatever they call them right now. They really do their job about who you with. They do the whole research and due diligence. So all the young rappers, I urge you to be safe out there. I know it's cold outside, and for me to tell you not to run around with it is kind of capo, you doing bad, but gotta be smarter how you do run around with it, because they definitely targeting y'all, because they know our situations and the things that we come up against, and we always seem to want to be protecting ourselves because it's dangerous outside, and they use that as an opportunity to kind of lock up our young rappers. And I'm not saying that's the only thing. A lot of it has to do with decision making. A lot of these youngsters are making stupid decisions, and stupid decisions that get you consequences that you got to deal with. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a combined things of what goes on and shit like that when it comes to you seeing a lot of these young rappers getting locked up in our city. And it's not just our city. It's any urban community inside of our country. Young kids are being targeted. It's not just about rap music. It's about black people. But because we are doing rap music and we are positioned to market and promote ourselves, and we are in the spotlight more than others, yes, we are easy target for police, for ops, for people of hate. As you can see, there's been so many deaths inside of this hip hop community in the past few years.
So all in all, what are Jim Jones' current thoughts on the whole New York drill scene, the whole New York hip hop scene in 2023?
I mean, it feels good. The music and the hip hop scene in 2023 feels pretty good. The energy is there, the camaraderie is there. This is the first time I've seen a lot of the unity in my city of different artists mixing and mingling and coming together on one accord, and a lot of different efforts and shit like that. And that's big. For us that's a little bit older than the youngsters, we got to lead by example and showing them a different way of how to carry themselves, because what's going on now, they ain't got no guidance or no leadership, and nobody to kind of bend back and tell them, move this way or move that way, or some of the things you might be doing might come with a heavy consequence and shit like that. And I'm not trying to impose my will on anybody, but I do want people to make some dope decisions instead of some harsh decisions.
For sure. And we're going to take it from the top, right? See, because I remember claiming Dipset. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's a line Lil Durk just said in his Hellcats and Track House.
Hellcats and Track House.
You heard that?
Yes, sir.
So do you know what he meant when he said, I remember claiming Dipset?
I mean, we used to live in Chicago. The first block that Dipset claimed in Chicago was K-Town.
Okay.
You familiar with K-Town?
I'm familiar with K-Town. That's out west. Shout out to all my west side homies.
That was the my man Duke. Shout out to Duke and all my family members. It was a block where there was actually a group home, and we met these group of youngsters that was so into the music and so into Dipset. You dig? It's kind of like we morphed together, but we didn't realize how young and how disadvantaged they was when we finally figured out these kids were in a group home repping us so hard on K-Town. You understand what I'm saying? And from back then to now, the transition that I've seen so many of them make, I love them for and shit like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some of them didn't get to make it, but a few did. Made it through the cracks, man. Shouts to my man Duke again. But there's so many sides. Shouts to E. It's so many different sides that we got to mingle with. Shouts to Coop. Shouts to Burrell. I know a little bit of the younger. I know a little bit of the older. Shouts to the LEP boys. Shouts to Happy. First of all, the first time we went to Chicago, we was booked by Don C and Happy. Everybody familiar with Don C and Happy?
For sure.
This might have been 97. You heard? Don C was a little bit different back then. He had a lot of Chicago ways in him and shit like that.
Sure.
But to see how many people made the transition from when we first started in Chicago is so fucking dope.
On the south side of Chicago, it was a lot of young guys clicking up. Some will be called Dipset. Some will be called Young Money. Some will be called No Limit. See what I'm saying? It was a group of young niggas in Chicago that was like, we Dipset. I'm Jim Jones. That's Cameron. That's Juelz. That's Freaky. That's Hell Real. You know what I'm saying?
We've been out there.
Cause look,
that energy transforms. Never forget that. You know?
Cause look,
energy transforms.
It does.
If it's something you love and you want to do what you love, you aspire to do it a little bit better, add your flavor to it, and it turns into something way different than what it first started out to be. So they may have loved Dipset, and I love the Dipset might turn them on to love of music, and that music turned into. But every Chief Keef and Little Durks and all them. And if that's so, then that is so fucking dope. Because you never know the impact that you leave on people because we really in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you win it, you can't see what the outside
because you just moving. You just doing what you do.
I remember claiming Dipset, like, and then I see
you be like that.
I already know he was on that Dipset. Is this crazy? But there's just so many factors like that in the game, like so many major people that have so many of these Dipset stories and shit like that kind of blows my mind sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So with that being said, man, tell us about Dipset. You know what I'm saying? Like, now before you give your answer, because I know you've done countless of interviews, we know that, you know, but we're an upcoming channel out of Chicago right now. And like I said, we grew up on that Dipset shit. So, you know, for you, Jim Jones, tell us how you got involved with Dipset, the point that you was, you know, at in your life and where it was at with the brand.
Dipset started way before people seen it. Dipset started before we got out there. Dipset started back when we was screaming BBO, and that was like bending bitches over when we was in high school. There was always a group of cool kids from Harlem that moved around, and it was like consist of Mase, Cam, few niggas from uptown, but everybody was kind of on the same mission. Them niggas was nice at basketball, and them niggas was nice at rapping. I just was in the streets at that time, you heard? We all went to high school and shit like that, but I was more street-oriented than they were. They were nice at basketball, and they was always talented in certain things as I'm recollecting and looking back and shit like that. But it started from this group of kids from Harlem moving around on one accord, trying to figure out how to get to the next level, because we all knew we had dreams to the next level, whether it was basketball or rapping or hustling and shit like that. And as we got older, the circle got smaller of the people who dreamed the biggest. And that started with Mase was the first piece out the puzzle that ended up getting the deal. And looking back, I always be mad. We used to always be mad, but looking back, Mase did his job because he definitely turned around, got Cam a deal, and bring Cam into the industry. And in turn, Cam turned around and did the same thing for me. Right. And that all is like the series of how Diplomats got into effect. And in the 90s, Cam got his deal, and in the 2000s, the Diplomats were born.
Okay. So with that response, I learned it wouldn't be no Diplomats.
It was Children of the Corn. So you had BBO, then you had COC. COC was Children of the Corn. That was Cam's first rap group. That consisted of Cam, Six Figure Digger, who was like one of the main Diplomat producers, main Cam producers when Cam got set. And then there was Bloodshed, RP Bloodshed, which is Cam's cousin, one of the founders of Diplomats. It wouldn't be no Diplomats if Brad didn't play an instrumental part of that. And when he lost his life, we had to fill that void, and that void was the Diplomats that came out of the void that we had to fill for him.
Yeah, I heard about Bloodshed, and I heard about like how prominent, like you just said, he was to like
he was it.
The whole movement.
He was it. Like coming up to high school, him and Cam were best friends or cousins and shit like that. But they always rapping Cam, Big L, Mase, Herb McGruff. There was a bunch of people that were in the industry and coming up to be stars in the industry that always hung out before the actual start of things. And COC, that led into them rapping, that led into Mase rapping, that led into crew tapes, mixtapes, and all that type of shit. And then Mase got his deal, came back, took Cam to big, ended up giving Cam a deal. That turned Cam into the star we knew, and then we ended up getting the Diplomat deal.
Word. Okay, cool. So tell us the impact, right? Going back to those days that Cameron had on Jim Jones' career.
The impact on Jim Jones' career, well, Cam was always the music guy. So when he got the deal and shit like that, Cam and Mase is the first people to show me how to rap and do music. And Cam always allowed me to make money with him as he started in the game. So before I was rapping, I did road manager, real manager, engineer, security. Like I did a slew of things before I actually got to the rap and video directing, running the label and shit like that. So it was always a way for me to eat. And then when I started doing the music, it was even better because I started to get some real money.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? The transition from the streets to the rap, right? You dropped your debut album in 04, On My Way to Church.
Yeah.
The Certified Gangsters record.
Yeah, I was still outside.
You was still outside.
Yeah.
Still tracking.
Yeah, I was still in the streets heavy.
Yeah.
I was in the streets heavy for probably all the way until my Ballin album, I would say.
Okay.
I didn't get the concept of one of the two. We got to make a transition. I had to learn a lot of hard lessons of why I should make that transition. Like, you know what I mean?
And I'm glad you just said that, because what were some of the lessons you had to learn? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of guys that's, you know, they want to be a rapper, you know, but it come with a lot, you know?
I mean, I just was doing too much in the streets. I was getting locked up. It was a lot that I was doing that I shouldn't have been doing while I'm pursuing a rap career. And by the grace of God, I got to escape all of these situations and be able to beat most of the cases, even the time that I had to go to trial. God was with me, and I know it don't go like that for everybody. So when you want to pursue this rap career and it starts to get serious for you, you got to figure out how to make that transition, because being in the streets and doing music definitely don't mix. I mean, in the beginning, we all got to make money. And 9 times out of 10, you won't be making too much money rapping. So you got to continue to have a hustle or a job or something until it evens out and shit like that. But once that shit starts to even out, you got to make a real decision in your life about what you want to do in life. If you want to be an entertainer or, you know what I mean?
Or a street nigga. So I heard you say in your interview with Funk Flex a few years ago, you said, man, we don't take pleas. You know what I'm saying? And you had tears coming from your face. I felt the emotion. You know what I mean? And you know, in today's current news, right? You got Gunna and the whole YSL taking pleas right now. Everybody taking pleas. And Thug in there looking crazy as hell.
It's definitely a touchy situation that Thug is facing. I don't know the ins and outs of the program. I don't know the whole situation. All I could see is what I see. And from where I come from, taking a plea when you have co-defendants is really not the thing you're supposed to do. If you're up against a case by yourself and shit like that, that's something different and shit like that. But you taking a plea is a touchy thing. And I don't really want to touch too much on it and shit like that, because I've seen my niggas go through some of the same things. But I can't say this. None of my niggas took a plea. They're all in jail right now, doing the time. They accepted what they did. They accepted who snitched on them. They accepted it all, and they all sat down and did their time. Nobody tried to take a plea. Nobody tried to go around. You dig? Niggas even went to trial. They did everything they could, but do that. So I will put that out there and shit like that. You dig? And
yeah.
Once again, that's the decision you got to make when you in this music business. You got to be very serious about the transition you make, and when you make that transition, you got to be very serious about the things in the company you keep. And sometimes the people that you love might not be the people you need to have next to you all the time and shit like that. Like, you got to be aware. Awareness is everything. You heard? And God bless me and all my niggas, and I love them to death. You heard? But if I'm not, by me not being aware, I would not be here to give you this interview. You heard?
Exactly.
You dig?
For sure.
Don't get love and other shit confused. You heard?
Yeah.
But
for sure.
God bless Young Thug, because he's definitely a dope soul. You know what I mean? Like, above all, he's a black man that started from nothing and helped so many black people become successful, help their family out, created so many jobs for black people. Like, they always skip all of the things that they hate to talk about, and that's all the positivity when it comes to us as a whole, as the rap generation. It's so easy to talk negative about us and paint a negative picture, because that's what people want to say. But in certain situations, they never talk about all the good that we do. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I tip my hat to Thug, man. Yeah. And God bless, I seen some crazy things, man. And you never know, that man could come home. And that's what I'm praying for.
And free Thug for sure. What I really want to ask you about, right, is the fact that, you know, not only is everybody taking pleas and thugs sitting in there looking crazy, but like I feel like how you said, where we from, that's just not allowed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the fans and the internet are kind of like giving Gunna a pass to where it's like they not getting down on him.
Listen, I'm not even getting into that because the internet and the social media is not a real place. You heard?
Okay.
You did?
Yeah.
And real niggas don't talk too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
okay.
Certain shit never get a pass. You heard?
For sure.
Certain shit is never condoned. You dig? Niggas know the real.
For sure.
They ain't gotta talk about it. You heard?
Yeah.
Everybody know what they do, and certain people gotta accept what comes with it. You heard?
Yeah.
Everybody ain't built for certain things. And it's sad to say you gotta be prepared for what you get yourself into.
For sure. Now get us to know Jim Jones tonight, right? We know you from Harlem.
Yeah.
That's correct?
Yeah.
Tell us what it was like for you growing up in Harlem. Which decade was that? The 80s or the 90s you was growing up? 80s?
I grew up in the 80s. I grew up in the Bronx.
Okay.
In the 90s, I grew up in Harlem.
Okay.
So I'm a Bronx baby that
moved to Harlem.
In Harlem.
Okay.
You heard? So
okay. Now, can you tell us, because we some Chicago niggas, right? The difference between the BX and Harlem? What's the difference? What's the difference between a Bronx nigga and a Harlem nigga?
Harlem niggas known for getting extremely fly. That's our shit. You heard? Hands down, Harlem is the mecca of all fly around the world for that. Bronx is very aggressive. These niggas is with the shits. You heard? Brooklyn is another aggressive place, but Bronx is like a difference from Brooklyn and shit like that. I can't really place it. Let me see.
Yeah, think about
side or like the west side? I would say Brooklyn like the west side. Bronx is like the south side. You understand the difference? It's both wild places. Yeah, like it's just. But for the most part, in the whole 5 boroughs, Harlem is known for getting fly and shit like that. You know what I mean? Everybody hold their own in these 5 boroughs. You get your ass caught up in one of the wrong situations, you might not make it out. Point blank. That's New York City,
Yeah.
Everybody's prideful about their borough, of course, and shit like that. Like, we feel Harlem is the best borough. You ask a nigga from Queens, he would be like, them nigga Harlem niggas smoking crack, nigga. You know what it is, Queens for like, you dig? So whoever you ask about New York, they gonna stake their claim and where they from and say that's the best part of New York. But Harlem is the best part of New York City.
Harlem. So what age did you move to Harlem? What was your first experiences like with Harlem? When did you fall in love with Harlem?
Well, I lived in the Bronx, but I went to school in Harlem from 1st grade. Okay. So I learned how to take the train from the Bronx at the age of 9. So I was in 1st grade at 6. By the time I was in 4th grade, I was taking the train from the Bronx to Harlem, going to school. So it's it's mixed in between. But I got to Harlem like 13 when I moved to Harlem to actually live in Harlem. Before leaving up to there, I used to live with my aunt back and forth and shit like that, so I could go to school, went back to the Bronx. When I got to 13, I actually moved to the projects to live with my grandmother, and we moved to the projects in Harlem. The projects is different from anything, and the project is a world in itself. You heard? That's a whole hood within inside the hood. Niggas from outside the projects don't really fuck with the project unless you tapped in, so that was scary in itself. I remember used to be scared to come out. I remember used to be scared to walk across the street to the other project to go see my cousin Joe, and he used to come to my house to walk me back to the middle of the projects. Then one day I remember I'm calling him, come get me, I want to come over. Like, man, I'm not coming to get you no more. You better get your bitch ass up and walk through the projects, nigga. Fuck wrong with you.
Hey, what's the name of them projects?
One of the best lessons of my life.
What's the name of them projects?
I lived in Taft, and Forster was the projects. Forster was very spooky back in the days. Wow. So walking in half a block was like walking a fucking mile. You heard? Yeah. So that was a great lesson that I learned. I had to toughen up. Yeah. I learned a lot of lessons in the projects about being a man and coming of age and holding my own. Quickly in Harlem. You had to learn. Most niggas was grown in Harlem at 15 and 16. Niggas was driving cars and all of that type of shit. From 88, I can remember my friends driving cars to elementary school, 8th grade, shit like that. Harlem was a different place, more different than any place in this world. Like, just bizarre from the late 80s to the late 90s, my duration of really being in the street. Yeah.
So when we think about Harlem, coming from Chicago, when we watch movies like Paid in Full, you know what I'm saying?
Paid in Full is a great depiction of Harlem.
Yeah.
Pretty much lays out the blueprint of what Harlem was. But that's pretty much the blueprint of every inner city community that came up in the 80s and the 90s, hustling and shit like that. But just we had so much glam and glitz with it. It just was a little crazy.
So what stood out to me the most about the whole Paid in Full story is the niggas that was really getting money were some young niggas, like
that's the whole
teenagers.
Harlem. That's the whole Harlem. You started getting money in Harlem at a young age, and so much coke was outside, and so much crack was outside, and so much fiends was outside. Everybody was getting money. Nigga, little niggas 12 and 13 and 14 making a stack a day off of pumping coke and pumping dope. And if you was on a heroin block, you fuck around making $2,500 a shift, nigga.
Really?
You heard? Yeah. Really? This is little niggas like an average little nigga coming home with 200, 250 in his pocket. Niggas going to school with more money than the teachers making. Like, and that's off selling crack right in front of your building or right in front of your backyard building.
Yeah. So when you started rapping, bro, so this the late 90s, early 2000s?
Me? I started rapping? I learned how to rap around 96 is when Mase actually sat me down and showed me the magic to rapping and how it actually happens and showed it to me on paper and what a metaphor was and how to match the rhyme with the cadence and all that type of shit. Boom.
Right.
That's when I actually learned the art of it. I didn't get serious with it until when we signed to Rockefeller. Although I was on all of Cam's albums because he knew this was a way for me to make music because of my character per se, the way I acted, my demeanor, everything. Like it presented a way if I could get it on music, I could become a star, always in Cam's mind, and that's what we progressed to as time went on, and we signed the Rockefeller deal, and then we ended up signing a Diplomat deal, and through all that time, I just was practicing my craft in and out. Maybe not as serious as I had needed to be, but I got my point across, seems like.
For sure. You for sure got your point across, right? So we know 04 On My Way to Church, like we stated earlier. 05, which seemed to me to be the breakout album, Harlem, Diary of a Summer.
Yeah.
You know, with the track, with Trey Songz, you know what I'm saying? Tell us what was going on at that time for yourself and the type of success you was receiving as an upcoming artist.
I think like it was different. I was able to negotiate on my first $1 million deal, I believe it was, off the second album from the success of the Certified Gangster record and all that type of shit.
Right.
I went down to Miami, got strung out in Miami, lost my mind in Miami. And I mean my lady in Miami also.
Chrissy?
During that album. And that's where I was with it. So when I came back home to do that album, and I remember Diary of a Summer, it was about the summer that I spent in Miami. And if you look at the cover, I'm in Harlem, but I got a backdrop of Miami and shit like that. And Miami had a heavy influence on the rest of my career from then. From the people I met, from the things I was doing, from changing my style up, changing my look up. Chrissy came into play. She helped me get a little bit more flyer. Like, it just helped create who Jim Jones was about to be.
For sure. Can you tell us about the first time you met Chrissy?
Yeah, I almost had to shoot a fucking football player. Not like that. Maybe I shouldn't take, but you know, whatever. Almost is a. I went to a club. It was a Thursday night. Forgot the name of the shit. Is in Miami. They used to do it every Thursday night. Remember, it's like 04. She in there. She from Harlem. She run down on me like, nigga, you know who I am. Doing her Harlem shit. She's a little older than me, so you know, niggas. I always had a crush on her. Exchanged numbers, and then we leaving out that night, leaving out the club. I'm not saying, I told her I'll see her later. And then I see her getting into an argument with a big nigga. Went down and, yeah, what's up, man? Y'all niggas, y'all all right out here? That nigga was like, you heard? Yeah, y'all niggas want to continue to play football. Y'all better go ahead and walk that way. And that night turned into a very long night. So that was the
introduction.
That was the introduction. But we always knew each other from Harlem. I knew who she was, and then because of me started doing music, she knew who I was. And seen her a few times where she'd be like, "What's up, little nigga?" and shit like that. So,
right.
Like that. So she's from the era of the niggas that was really doing it, the paid in full era. That's her era. Like, she's really from that era. She was doing it. She was backing out cars, big jewelry. All the niggas she still is one of the top, but you heard, like, in Harlem, you know, it's always that, wherever you at, it's always that niggas like, oh, nah, that. And I was able to, you heard?
Okay, cool.
You dig?
So with you knowing that about her, you know, and being younger than her, you know, how were you able to grasp the confidence to pursue her and make her your woman?
Oh, my confidence ain't got nothing to do with it. My shit's out the sky. You heard? That's just who I am. I'm a confident person.
Yeah.
Kind of cocky with it.
Yeah.
But with that situation, I was more nervous than I was confident. I didn't want to turn her off in any way.
Okay.
Because I know who I was at that time, and I was a wild boy. But one of the main things I do was had to really learn how to take it back a notch and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you tell us exactly what year the Diplomats formed and how you became involved?
I was there from the beginning when it came to the Diplomats. Cam and everybody used to actually live in my grandmother's house in the projects when she passed away. So yeah, after we graduated from high school. And Cam and Mase got kicked out of school, and they both came to live with me. That went from Mase getting his deal to Cam getting his deal, and me and Cam was partners in crime since the beginning.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but you say Cam and Mase was both living with you. Like in your crib with your mama and your family?
Yeah, in my crib. My grandmother had passed. When she passed away, she left me the apartment that I had. So I was in an apartment by myself, and they got kicked out of school, and I told them to come stay with me. And from them staying with me, they both ended up getting hell of a rap deals.
How old were you all at this time?
Teenagers, 17, 18,
okay,
19.
Now, like I said, I watch a lot of the Jim Jones interviews, right? You got any crazy roommate stories with living with Cam or Mase?
Oh, it was all crazy. We was young, coming up, always bitches running through there, niggas hustling, niggas selling drugs, niggas tripping, niggas bugging, niggas buying cars, niggas packing. It was a lot. We were young. As you can see, we just graduated from high school. We was already outside in the street. All of us, you started clubbing at the age 15 and 16. All the clubs, all the older kids used to go to that was hustling, from the skate key to the ring, to the tunnels, to all of that type of shit we were doing while we were still in high school. So we'd be partying on weekend on Sunday and go to school looking at the teacher like she retarded on Monday. Like, bitch, I just left the I just saw Mike Tyson last night. He talking to me about math. Bitches, you crazy. Like, so we all been partying for so long and shit like that. All that shit led to everything now and shit. But when it comes to the Diplomats, yeah, I've been there from the beginning. I kind of coined the name of Diplomats from walking through the hallways, and we was doing this chant in my Harlem World Diplomat when Master P was saying he was a no-limit soldier. So this goes back. I'm a co-founder, one of the forefathers. Wouldn't be no Diplomats if I wasn't there. Wouldn't be no Diplomats if Cam wasn't there.
Yeah. Cause what exactly is a diplomat?
We had to both to be there for that thing that made history. Not one I could say for sure.
It had to be Cameron and Jim Jones.
For the Diplomats, yes.
For sure.
He couldn't accomplish it with nobody else, and I couldn't accomplish that with nobody else. Cam was already successful and a platinum artist, so let's not get the two confused.
Right.
You heard?
Right.
Not saying there wouldn't have been no Cameron without Jim Jones. I'm saying the Diplomats, that couldn't happen if we didn't do that together. And that was the plan.
Now, when I just type diplomat in Google, right, it's a noun, an official representing a country abroad. Like, so that means if you was to go outside the country and be representing your country, and it say a person who could deal with people in a sensitive and effective way. You know what I'm saying? I just say when y'all always call yourselves the diplomats and we was calling ourselves Dipset, I had to open the dictionary like, damn, what the fuck is a diplomat, right?
And we really meant that. We were diplomats from Harlem.
So what was y'all definition at that time of a diplomat?
We're more than a movement. We're more like a movement you need to get in tune with. We are the light that illuminates the answers to any questions you niggas want to know about our ghetto. What was, I remember that.
So it was an acronym.
It wasn't an acronym. It was just a whole thing that we had about what the diplomats was and shit like that.
Okay. So tell us when you met Juelz. He was 16 years old?
Yeah, Juelz was a baby, 15, 16. Cam, though, I got this new little nigga. This nigga is so fire. He from uptown by the heights, man. This nigga 16, talking about he goes swimming with the hammer in his trunk. So I remember that shit vividly. They went uptown and scooped that little nigga and shit like that. He's like, you gotta rap for Jim right now. Nah, you gotta rap. And the nigga just went off. Word.
Really?
So he was there from when Cam had lost his deal, when we didn't have any deal, that's dealing with Sony, and then after that, Cam had got managed by Dame, and then we got the Diplomat deal and shit like that.
Right.
So Juelz used to go to tunnel with us and all that shit, like 99 and shit. So he been around for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So tell us about that transition, man, when Cam went from Sony.
And let's not get that, so we gotta go back, because people gonna be like, yo, Jim, keep talking about, yes, Juelz is a prominent part of the movement. And the success of the Diplomats could never have happened if we didn't have Juelz.
Okay.
See, let's break this shit down. Like, I don't want people to get this shit twisted. Cam was already a platinum artist. There's always gonna be a Cam, Jim or not. Came to the Diplomats. The plan that me and Cam was to create that. This was the avenue that we was gonna create that I could jump off of, and we can make our own thing like Master P and Cash Money and them and shit like that. The artists that we end up meeting that can fulfill our dreams and turn Diplomats into a real label and have a fucking signing star artist was Juelz. None of that shit could happen without that trifecta, but the Diplomats being made couldn't happen without me and Cam.
Right. I get what
that
you're
was
saying.
our plan from in the house.
So you and Cam formed it, and then Juelz made it
Yeah, the success of it could not have happened if we didn't have Juelz.
Right.
Me and Cam couldn't have brought that success to the Diplomats.
Without Juelz.
Without Juelz.
Young man.
Super platinum artist, out the box. Bitches loved him, ain't no way around it. Everything he touched went crazy. King of the young niggas, the prince of the city. Ain't no way around it. You heard? So collectively, yes, these are the people that really made the Diplomat happen. But when we talk about historically and how things happen and shit like that, that's how it goes. You heard?
Yeah.
Definitely could have been a Cam. Would have been no Diplomats without me and Juelz. Would have been no successful Diplomats without me and Kim. Would have been no successful Diplomats without Juelz. Period. There's nobody else that could fill that void.
I get that.
And all this shit was like God sent. So these are how this shit goes. So if people gonna listen to this and try to poke holes into it and all shit like nah, I do.
You know how the fans be.
I'm going step by step so everybody can hear it. Like, so don't twist me up and shit like that.
And so step by step, right, Diplomats are formed. And it's like the hottest group in Harlem, I imagine. Like I said, I wasn't here, right? I was in Iraq. But what I do know is Rockefeller found interest in the Diplomats. You know what I'm saying? We talking about Dame Dash. We talking about Jay-Z and Kareem Biggs Burke, right? Can you tell us how that initial meeting happened?
Well, that was already going down. Dame already managed Cam, and natural progression was after Cam got a deal and became successful, was able to him to get a deal. At that time, that's was kind of what was going on from the Ja Rules to everybody was kind of getting these label deals and shit like that. And Cam was able to do the same for us and the Diplomats, and that's how it kind of happened. Dame kind of did all that shit for us at that time.
Okay. And back then, when you say a label deal, what exactly, without giving us, specifics, is a label deal? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much you giving an artist to do what?
That's all depends. I know the partnership that people were getting with 50-50 Ventures and shit like that. So it depends on whatever your partnership was. But it's a partnership with a label. The label gets you a shitload of money for you to put out music from different artists that hopefully be successful so you can recoup and do it all over again. That's pretty much what label is. And no different from a Def Jam to the Rockefeller. But whatever your situations and whatever your terms is, that's what goes into your shit. You get what you negotiate, not what you deserve.
Okay. You get what you negotiate, not what you deserve. For sure. I like that. So when we talk about Jim Jones discography, we talk about On My Way to Church. We talk about Harlem, Diary of a Summer. We Fly High. You know this. Ballin', you know what I'm saying? The Product of My Environment joint, you know? Tell us about the success you were receiving at the height of your career and when did you feel like Jim Jones has finally made it?
Shit. I mean, I was Jimmy for a long time, even when all the famous people just knew who I was and nobody really knew who I was. But I started getting ill around the time of Ballin'. After the success of the Diary of My Summer and going into the Ballin' album and shit like that, it really started to take places. Jim Jones actually being a rapper that's going to be here for a minute, and everywhere I went, everybody knew who I was. Shows clicking, then Ballin' hit, and then Ballin' was a record that was, I can't even explain the magnitude of how big that record was. For me, it's definitely like, I call it the Michael Jackson record. Even to this day, no matter what type of record I come out with, no matter how big my record that I come out with, I feel for the rest of my life, the response of Ballin' is always going to top that shit when I play that record during my sessions, and I'm cool with it. It's a hate-love relationship I got with it, but I'm definitely grateful for that record for putting me in the history of rap music.
Can you tell us where you was at when you first saw Michael Strahan doing the dance?
Somebody called me and told me, yo, I think you need to look at the Giants next time they play. I'm like, why? Like, yo, coach, Strahan is actually sacking niggas and doing the Ballin' dance every time after he sacked a nigga. And I seen that shit, I'm like, oh my God, it's out of here. And then you seen the whole stadium, Junior. I'm like, oh, it's out of here, it's gone. And that was just that. That was the inclination that shit is gonna go. Go. And that shit took me to heights I couldn't imagine. That song actually ran for like 3 summers straight, damn near, like on radio stations and all that. That shit would not go away.
So after the record, man, after the music, you know, after the Dipset breakup, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, we've been following you for so many years. There's certain things that we know about we ain't got to necessarily get into, but what I do want to know is, you know, in terms of reviving your career, you know, we saw you on VH1, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Chrissy, right? What was the difference, right, between being a recording artist for a label versus like being a reality TV actor for a cable network?
It really wasn't no difference. The difference is I had to be certain places at certain times.
Type shit.
Just doing my music, I really ain't got no time to train what I like to do. But for the most part, at that point in my life, I was just going a different direction, and the reality TVs kind of helped me out a lot financially at the time, because shit was getting hard. You know, especially the way they was trying to blackball me in the industry for, you know, some of the things, some of the actions that I was portraying and shit like that. So I'm very grateful for me being able to step into the reality TV world, as I pretty much made the platform for any black person who's on reality TV right now and getting $1, especially if it has anything to do with hip hop. I don't care if it was a family show. I don't care if it's a motherfucking home network show. If it got to do with hip hop and dealing with hip hop in that capacity,
and relationships,
you should be thanking.
For sure.
You know, and not just relationships, but just hip hop alone, because they weren't doing that type of television before. It wasn't giving hip hop the TV screens like they are doing now. Before I set that trend once again.
and that's a very interesting trend that you set, because that's a trend that is obviously popular in our neighborhood. What I mean is, you could be out in the studio as a recording artist all night, you know, but at the end of the night, you might have somebody to go home to. You know what I mean? So can you tell us like how important having a woman is, you know, in an upcoming artist's career? Like, you know, some pros and cons.
Everything ain't for everybody. But if you do have a strong woman in your corner, that's one of the best things you can have in your journey as being any successful man in any direction. Don't care what type of businesses it is. You got a strong woman who knows who she is and knows her worth and know she gonna hold you down through thick and thin. There's nothing like it. But that's for certain people. Some people stand strong on their own and we don't need that type of, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it depends on where you at in life. But I can tell you this: if you are in a relationship and you do have a dope woman in your corner, you're gonna be very successful. You know?
Okay. And with that being said, we can move on, you know, after this one, right? Have you and Chrissy got married yet or not?
Nah, we're not married.
Nah, still nah?
Nah.
Cause I ain't gonna lie, gang, I don't watch too much TV, so I wasn't able to keep up with Love and Hip Hop.
Nah.
But I thought y'all got married by now.
Nah, but we still together. That's the most important part.
Y'all still together. So what's the difference between being quote unquote married and just still being together?
Oh, it really ain't no difference, but technically and on paper, it's a big difference, especially for a woman. So you never forget that. You did?
Okay. Cause I'm single. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, you got time, my brother. Enjoy the single life. You did? Because when you meet that one woman, it's gonna catch you off guard. You're gonna go through a lot of changes. You did?
Yeah.
You have to fight for that shit. But if you're a fighter, you'll be all right.
Yeah. Now, when you look at the rap game nowadays, man, I heard you saying your Funk Flex interviews that back then, y'all didn't have no OGs. You know what I'm saying? And today it look like it ain't no OGs. You feel me? So when you look at the rap game, bro, and you being a veteran in it, a Hall of Famer in it, you know, what's some things that you would advise to the youth that's coming up in it?
Well, I always give advice to the youth without imposing too much of my will. I want to see them making the right mistakes, especially when they got a chance to make so much money and becoming so successful inside of this rap industry and things like that. But times are different. Not saying any different from how we were coming up, but the way things are moving are different. You got social media, you got internet, you got cameras everywhere. When we were younger, we didn't have those, so we had a little bit more threshold for the chances that we took and things like that. Now these times are different, and these kids are getting caught up in opt this and opt that, and nobody get a break. And it seems like more people, these kids are more worried about killing and violence than they are worried about getting money. And I do know one thing for a fact: the first thing that was on our mind when we was coming up was the money. And 9 times out of 10. The violence only came due over money. Not saying violence is ever a thing that's condoned, but I'm just saying that's where the basis of that coming up, more so than it is now. They have no reasons on why they could killing each other and doing all these violent acts right now. Like, it don't be about shit. Nigga might go up on there and be like, I ain't like how that nigga was rapping. You can't even have an opinion. Oh, now you a op, nigga. It's up when you see you smoke and it ain't coming down, nigga. Watch how you dig, and it just watching this shit is like crazy. Like, but not so crazy because we had to move the right way too, because we was up against a lot at the same time, but it's just different. And we carried ourselves a little bit different. Not saying we wasn't reckless, but we did carry ourselves a little bit different and shit like that back in the day. We had a little bit more of a moral compass than these kids have today. And a lot of that is because of the things that they subjected to when you're playing all these video games that got guns and showing you how to gun maneuver and all that type of shit. There's no heart in the video game. Like, these kids say I'm just killing shit all day. Like, it's a lot to it and shit like that. Not blaming that. I'm just saying there's so many factors into what's going on in today's society and shit like that. It's like, where do we start? And then, like you said, there ain't enough OGs to band together to try to give the right advice, at least to lead by example, to show these kids how to move a little bit different. Most of these niggas that got money are in a position to be an OG inside of this game. They got money. They definitely don't want to be bothered with the niggas that I be bothered with. And I do it because I got a heart, because I know a lot of these niggas are going to go up against some shit that they're never going to come back from. And it don't matter what amount of money you got, you can get caught up. Young Thug is a multi-millionaire. He's richer than most of your favorite rappers. Really, like, and the money can't save you in certain situations. You dig? So it's like, this is why I always try to preach to them to gotta move a little bit right. I understand what you up against, but you just gotta move smarter. That's it. You heard? Like you moving smarter and you gaining success, is levels to this shit. And you're gonna come to a level where you can't pay for security to start coming outside. Then you ain't gotta move the way you, as risky as you was moving before and shit like that, because I know what y'all up against. But follow the rules, young man. Don't get caught up with being stupid or putting your pride in front of you, because most niggas die over pride. I seen it happen all the time. Shit could have happened to me a few times because I'm very prideful myself, and I had to learn how to put that shit in my pocket in certain situations. I'm not a chump. But we all could get caught.
Yeah.
We all could get caught slipping. I seen it happen to the best and to the toughest and the roughest. Also to the softest and to the punkest. You heard? So.
For sure.
This is what I preach to the youth that's coming up. You heard?
Yeah.
And I wish I could just snap my fingers and say it'll be better tomorrow. Niggas won't be killing each other, but they won't. And even me being in a position that I'm in a position of being a target. So the way I have to move is very tactical. You heard? I'm moving scary out here. I'm scared to death. You heard? You know what I mean.
For sure. As I was sitting here listening to your response, bro, I was just thinking about all my diplomatic childhood memories. You know, I was in like 7th or 8th grade myself. You know what I'm saying? When y'all were really taking over the world, right? We talking about 04, 05, 06, you know? I'm 31 years old, you know? And as much as I like to talk about success, you know, we got to shine a light on the bullshit, because without negative, there probably won't be no positive. You know what I'm trying to tell you? So, when I look at you, I think about not only Dipset, Cameron, Juelz, I think about Max B. Nah. No Max B. What's up? say that. I love that type of response. You know what I'm saying? Say less. No, hell no. I feel.
I don't talk about dead people, and I'll talk about people locked up.
Sure.
You heard?
Yeah. What's up?
I say some shit, I want to be able to say it to your face if I have to.
Yeah.
You dig?
Yeah.
So that was one thing I always made it a point to do. So just keep that in mind for next time you speak to a real nigga.
No doubt.
Talk about dead people or somebody's locked up.
Yeah. And I'm glad you pointed that out to me, bro, because like I said, we from Iraq, and you know, we do a lot of the interviews, and in our market, a lot of the fans, they want to know about the people that's either dead or locked up. You know what I'm saying? And so we do interview a lot of guys that, you know, speak on them in the fans.
I know how I go in Chicago. I know how they speak on their ops. I know the whole thing and shit like that. But where I'm from, I come from a different time. I come from real hustlers and shit like that. Niggas that really got money and really was in the street. There's certain code and certain things that I'm just not accustomed to doing.
Mm-hmm.
And me talking about a dead person holds no merit to me. You heard?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If that's your op, you already won. You're not here no more, no matter what were the circumstances. So what? You get out of talking about that. You definitely ain't getting a blessing.
For sure.
You heard?
For sure.
It's about energies and blessings and shit like that. Where I'm at in life. You heard? I did so much in life that I'm just praying that I can live as long as possible and be blessed while I'm living long as possible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I'm not young as I used to be. I've done a lot of things that a lot of these kids are going through. And as a youngster, you have to go through shit to live. So it's hard to tell a person to stop what they're doing because that's telling them to stop experiencing life. But I'm just telling them to move accordingly. Be a little bit smarter while you live in life so you can live a long life. Because everybody is not as lucky as me. I promise you that.
Now, most recently, you got your top 10 podcasters.
I got niggas on fire.
Of 2022, right?
I got niggas on flames with that one.
Who was your favorite podcast in 2022? How much do you watch podcasts? Do you listen to podcasts more than you listen to music nowadays?
No. I don't. I just, you know what I mean? So I based my list off the podcasts that I actually watch and shit like that. You know what I mean? And the ones that interest me. more and shit like that, and what's actually going on there, where people think is popping and shit like that. And by no means there was no personal shots and shit like that. Yeah, I made a couple of jokes and shit like that, but personally, this was like the list of the people that I really enjoyed watching and shit like that. And I was making a joke with B-Dot in there, but I really didn't watch any of B-Dot and them niggas podcast this year, so it was like, you're a dub, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I got it, like what I don't know about. You're a dog in my brother. You're not making it this year and shit like that. And this is my list. These niggas always make their favorite rapper list, right? Fuck out of here. Well, we making the favorite podcaster list, you heard?
Right.
This shit ain't making me holler at us next year, nigga. You heard?
Right.
Simple as that. Don't be mad at me, nigga. Mad at yourself you ain't make the list, you heard?
Yeah.
Fuck wrong with you podcaster niggas. I can fight, nigga. Shit. Nah, it's all love though, man. I'm glad that it got the attention of so many people and shit like that. Means a space for me to come back next year and actually do another one.
Yeah.
And it'd be a little bit interesting.
Yeah. You had My Expert, Math Off at 10, Lip Service at 9, Kitchen Talk with Man No at 8, Carisha Pleas at 7, No Jump at 6, Casey Aunt at 5, and shout out to Shorty, because like you said, a lot of people don't, consider him.
Kai Senate?
K Senate. That's the name, right?
Kai Senate? Kai, whatever.
It's a young nigga making a whole lot of money.
It's stupid though. So yeah, he's all right. So the kid Kai Senate, he's a fucking gamer, right?
Right.
My son put me on to him a minute ago, and the other white kid that be getting, they be swatting that nigga and shit like that. So my son put me on to these niggas a minute ago and shit like that. You dig? So as a gamer, I knew them from my son. But recently, I'm seeing them do interviews with Lil Baby and some of the top rappers, and I'm like, oh, you're not a gamer anymore. You're slick a podcaster. Because once you start interviewing these type of niggas, that's what you is.
Exactly.
And he's popping in probably the whole list.
Right.
If we want to get into statistically, if you want to get statistically, he should be number one.
Number two,
because he got the generation of the young kids. Ain't no way around it. Us old niggas can't beat that.
For sure.
But I added him to the list because he's that influential within that space, and they can't take that from him. He's putting on right now. And I just seen him in Live the other night. And I just seen him with A Boogie. Like, what he is?
He get it on.
What are y'all talking about?
So look, Jones, to round out the list, right? We talk about Joe Budden, Earn Your Leisure, $1 Million Worth of Game, and Drink Challenge. We know you fuck with Nori hard as hell.
Right.
So look, now there's one internet figure I gotta ask you about. He ain't dead, he ain't locked up either. So I want you to give us your honest opinion about.
What's up?
Charleston White.
Who's this? The little nigga that be talking about people?
Yeah.
He's out his fucking mind, man. I stay away from them type of niggas, you dig? Like, I ain't got no comment on them. I ain't got no opinion on them. I ain't into that. You heard? I'm not into none of that. You dig? So I watch it from afar. It's absolutely bizarre, but I ain't got no opinion on it because I ain't really into that. That's not my world. I don't be sitting up into the clubhouses and all that. You dig? Like, I don't get into that. I live a real life. I really be outside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, niggas who I've had problems with, I know that pretty soon I'm going to see them with because them niggas is outside. Like, these people that's on the internet and all that type of shit, these are the type of people that you're not something to tell you're not going to bump into. And they trolling and baiting people when they click baiting and they getting paid for it and shit like that. Like, it's a slick way of a bullfight and shit like that. You heard? Like, this, you digging, these niggas is falling for it and shit like that, and they getting paid for it and shit like that. So who the fuck am I to not the hustle? I definitely ain't got nothing to say about it. I ain't got nothing to do with it. You heard?
Hey, man, it's 2023, Jones. You know, we've been listening to Capo for over 20 years now.
Yeah, man.
What can we expect?
I was a little bit rough around the edges before, but, you know,
you still here, man, and it's a blessing to still be able to talk to you.
I want you to understand that. So when you get up here and you do these interviews, you also got to interview responsibly. I mean, yeah, we expect people to jump off the roof, but give them a cushion, you heard? Just don't let them land flat on their face because there's a lot of power in words. And what I mean by that is that us as people with influence, 9 times think that things that we say, people take it to heart and they take it very literal. And when you take something literal in that sense, you hold it with you, you might turn around and reciprocate what I just said, and that could be in any form. So you want the show to be more informational than it is to be hurting somebody. You heard? Or you want people to be able to take something away from an interviewer more than it is to take nothing away from it, but the regular ignorant shit that we used to. You hear? Like, it's all good to talk about all the ignorant shit, but make sure you bring out a positive point out of the midst of some of the most ignorant niggas. You dig? And that's your responsibility as being an interviewer or a podcaster or whatever lane you're going into and shit like that. Trust me, that'll help you out a lot in the long run. You heard? Like, I've been in a position to take so much in my life that in recent years I've made a promise that I'm gonna give back. And by me giving back, I've seen so many blessings and shit like that. You dig? So it's the same for everybody. And whatever you're doing, you just got to figure out how to flip that. You heard? Make sense?
Makes sense for sure.
You want to talk about the verses? It was the championship of hip-hop music. You heard? I don't know when we're going to see another championship of hip-hop music. You heard? Despite the winner, the loser, Locks put the fuck on. But the event, if you were in the city and you were there, you never felt nothing like that in your life. You heard? It was like watching Jordan versus Kobe and LeBron coming off the bench. That ill. You heard? That's what it did for hip-hop. I can't tell you that. Shout out to the Locks, they did their motherfucking numbers that night.
DJ, you go crazy.